Well, hello there, gang. Welcome to the 30. I am your host, Patrick. I want to thank you for being here on this. Seems like if I'm getting some feedback here. Let's see how this is going. All right. Well, we are here on the 30. I want to welcome you again to the 30, of course. This is our first day as we move into celebrating Women's History Month. And last month we celebrated Black History Month. This month we are celebrating Women's History Month. And of course, we always look for the best of the best. And tonight is no different. So if this is your first time watching the 30, whether you're viewing us live or in replay, I certainly want to thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I appreciate you being our valued guest, our valued viewer and listener. And we do it for you. The goal of the 30 is basically to provide valuable information to help you enhance your personal and professional lives. We stream live to 3 channels. We stream to Facebook, we stream to LinkedIn, and we certainly stream to YouTube. If you're watching us from YouTube, make sure that you go to the Jackman Group LLC, who are the producers of the 30, and you can check us there. While you're there, make sure that you subscribe to our channel and like this episode. This is episode 138. Oh, wow, 138 episodes. Coming up to 3 years, we will have a special announcement for our anniversary, so stay tuned to that. Tonight, we have a very special guest. So as I mentioned in the promo, if you want to know what a successful meeting an event company looks like, well, you're in the right place because I'm going to introduce my guest to you, and she's the owner and operator of her own event and planning company. And I'm talking about she gets the big folks, not just the little folks like me, right? But she goes big. So I'm going to have her talk to you a little bit, and we're going to talk about the event industry. We're going to talk about her successes. We're going to talk about some of her challenges. We're also going to talk about how does she navigate going into COVID and then coming out of COVID, and how did she do that, and where she is today. So help me welcome to the 30, Corrine. She is no stranger. Corrine, welcome to the 30.
Thank you. Wow, what an introduction. Goodness gracious. Let me see if I can live up to that.
Well, nothing but the best, nothing but the best for you. So tell our viewers who you are and what you do. I give them a brief synopsis, but I want them to hear it from you.
Okay, so I am Corrine Thomas, founder, meeting and event specialist at Absolute Events by Corrine. Have been doing that for about 19 years, doing meetings and conferences and special events. Started off doing a lot of social events mixed with corporate events. However, within the last, I'm going to say probably about 9-10 years, I've been focused mainly on doing meetings, conferences, and events for companies, which is fun, can be fun, is challenging, but rewarding at the same time. Um, and I love what I do. I have been in this industry for a long time. And even though I've had my business for about 19, I've got over 20 years in this industry. However, you're looking at me and wondering, well, how old is she? Well, I started when I was 10, if you can believe that.
Now I know that this is, and part of your bio says that this is your second career,
Yes,
right?
it certainly is.
So let's start there. Let's go back to your first one, and then we're going to move right into this company. So
Okay,
tell our viewers, what was your first career?
so I went to college for computer programming. So I started my life in the IT space. When I left college, I didn't really do programming. Back then, it was the kinds of things that you could do with programming was just not my speed. I mean, there was too much accounting and stuff. But to cut a long story short, I moved on to doing systems analysis, tech support, and computer operations, all of it. And then I joined when I actually left the United Kingdom to come to the United States. When I got here, I continued doing the same thing. However, after I joined a company called Citigroup, you may have heard of it. There, I slowly moved out of the IT space. I went into senior level management. From there, I went to another company called KPMG, where I learned all about meetings and conferences, and left there to start my own business. So started in IT, and I'm now evolved into a meeting and event specialist.
So what got you into this particular business or industry?
So, great question. Um, so I saw a lot of events because I had a partner that really, that's what they did. They did floral design, and they were very good at it. But I got some insight into this whole event space. I had no idea what that involved, but I finally got to know what it meant when I joined KPMG. At KPMG, at the time I was there, we were doing over 600 meetings and conferences every year. So I really got a crash course in what that was all about. And I was really intrigued by it. I believe that I had a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit before I'd gotten there. And I made this decision kind of on a whim to leave and start my own business. And I haven't looked back ever since.
Well, that's fantastic. And that's the goal of a lot of people, right? Is to start their own business,
Mm-hmm.
be their own, put their own shop up, put their own flag up, right?
Right.
Um,
Drive your own bus.
drive your own bus. Yeah, all those things. Uh,
Yeah.
what is it in terms of how is it, I should say, with event planning, um, managing? What type of business does someone get into, and what are some of the successes and challenges that you've endured and that you've gone through? Let's talk about the successes first.
So the successes really just are about being able to take something from a concept that someone has in their mind. It could be a company or an individual that says, this is what I would like to have happen. One of the biggest things that I like to push when it comes to someone asking to do an event or meeting, my first question is always, why? Why do you want to have this meeting or event? What is the purpose of it? What do you want people to feel or do differently after they've come to this event, after the event is over? Or, what do you have any goals that you want to reach? For me, then, what that means is when I help to put this event together, I can measure success by being able to say, yes, we delivered on what the client wanted. So, success is really about making sure that my clients are satisfied with the delivery of what they were expecting, the results that they were expecting. And I'm going to say, typically, that is, I'm going to say it's a slam dunk. It is an extremely, and when I say extremely rare occasion, that a client does not get the results that they're looking for as a result of us planning an event or meeting for them.
What are some of the events that you've had?
Okay, so some are conferences. We do fundraising galas. I'm going to talk about one in particular because people tend to think that we make things look very easy. You go to a conference or a meeting, things just happen. And I really want people to know that there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes for those things to happen. It is our job to make it look like it's very easy. So I'm going to give you an example of something that required a lot of work and a lot of logistics. So we did a gala for an organization, and it was held at Ellis Island. If anyone has gone to Ellis Island, of course, for those who don't know, that's where the Statue of Liberty is. So if you haven't gone to Ellis Island, it's important to note that you need a ferry, whether you're coming from New York or New Jersey, you need a ferry to get to Ellis Island. So imagine an event where there's about 875 people who have to get there. And add to that, there are a group of nuns who are in their 70s, 80s, and there were a handful in their 90s that had to do the same thing. However, when you go to get the ferry to go to Ellis Island, when you park your car, there is a long walk. So of course we can't do that with these nuns that are elderly. So Ellis Island is really a monument, and it's there's lots of legal ramifications to going there. You have to go through security. It's just like any national monument in this country. You have to go through security to get there. So really, we had to negotiate having the nuns driven over to Ellis Island. It took a lot of finagling to make that happen. Um, they were required to have driver's license. Most of the nuns did not. So, as you can imagine, while trying to plan and make sure that everything else is happening the way it's supposed to, and on Ellis Island, if you want to do an event there, you can't set anything up until about 6 because that's when the public that's when the museum is closed. That's when the public is leaving or have left. So having an event that starts at 7, you have an hour. Typically, we like to have 2, 3 hours to set up. And when you're setting up for over 800 people, that's, it's not a small feat. But being able to make that happen and to have the event happen is, I don't know if I painted a good enough picture for you to imagine how much work has to go on for that to look like there's no work that's done to make it happen.
Wow. So how long did something like that take to, in terms of planning, from when you got the contract to the actual
So
event?
we didn't have too much of a lead time. Ideally, for something like that, we need at least 8 to 10 months. We had about, I think we had 3 or 4. So it was a lot. However, I will say, while um, an event like that can take a long time to plan, um, because we know what it takes. We're used to doing events. We know where the landmines are. We know what to avoid, how to make things happen, and how to make things work. We can pretty much put it together. The challenge that would allow us not to do that is attendance. But in this particular instance, the, people wanted to go to this because who doesn't want to go to an event on Ellis Island? What the hell is that going to look like? That's interesting, right? However, this was a fundraising gala, and the funding goal was 1,300,000, I believe it was, if I can remember correctly. Um, so there's a lot of goings on before that, getting sponsorships. By the way, our company doesn't do sponsorships. We can kind of help guide, but we don't really do that. But there's a lot that's going on with sponsorships, the whole invitations. There's a save the date that has to go out. The branding, we have to go through the company, their marketing department to make sure the branding is correct. Get get those printed and mailed out. And then during this entire time, if people have questions, one of the things we do is we provide a phone number so that people can call in and ask questions about the event. And, some of the questions are around the tickets, how we're going to get there, where do we park, all of that. So there's that portion of it. And then just the logistics in working with a caterer who hadn't done an event on Ellis Island, understanding that they literally have an hour to get their stuff in, get prepped, and ready to start serving food within an hour.
Wow. So,
So there's
geez.
kind of, it's like a conductor trying to make sure that everything happens within the time that it's supposed to happen. It's a lot.
Sounds it. Sounds it.
Yes.
So
But
let's
we
talk.
we love it. We love the busyness of it all.
And I'm sure it came off great and everyone had fun.
Everyone had a great time. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
still talking about it to this day.
Wow. And when was that? Was that during COVID
Oh,
or
it was
was that?
before COVID. It
It was
was
before COVID.
2017, I believe.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, as we celebrate Women's History Month, and as a woman owner of a company out of New Jersey, New York, the tri-state area. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of the challenges that you've had
Hmm.
as a woman owning a successful event company.
Challenges. Okay. Hmm. So I think for me, the challenges are really making more effort probably than a male business owner to be seen, to be respected, and to be respected as a business person. That is a challenge because, and also as a meeting and event specialist, people often look at that as, oh, they're just party planners. Anybody can plan a party. It's not the same thing. So as far as challenges go, I think it's really um, having people understand that what you do is real work. It's really challenging, and it takes a lot of time away from family and friends, trying to make somebody else's situation better. Um, so it's like with any entrepreneur, I think you put a lot of time in and you miss out on a lot driving your business. So the challenge is balancing the two, balancing your personal family life and your entrepreneurial journey, your business, your work. Those are the kind of challenges that sometimes takes a lot to get over. I'm in a different place though. I think I've overcome most of my challenges. I think that is definitely one of my successes, that I've come through that crazy of the entrepreneurial life.
That's great. And so not only that as a challenge, but now then you have COVID, right? Talk to us about about what
The
COVID did in
little
your.
pandemic we had, yes. So that was rather interesting because, of course, we were all on this lockdown. So meetings and events clearly were not really happening. However, I got very, very lucky. One of my clients opted to do their conference virtually right in the beginning, um, before the lockdown announcement was made, and so so we not only did the virtual conference, we did all the meetings. In fact, probably more meetings than we did prior to COVID for this particular company, or this organization rather. It's an association. And the attendance was really, I mean, it was great. I guess because everybody was a captive audience. Everybody was at home, and they were okay with turning on their computers and, getting CE credits or getting some knowledge or whatever from just sitting at home in front of a computer. So, um, as an industry, though, we did suffer quite a lot because one of the things that's attached to the meetings and event industry is travel. Planes were not going or coming from other places in the world. That is still a little bit challenging today, but it's getting better. I think that we still have not seen the kind of activity that we've seen prior to COVID. I think that we're probably going to start to see that look very much like pre-COVID, probably by the middle of next year.
Wow. So then you COVID, you said you had some things going on because of what you had set up prior to COVID.
Right,
Through COVID, and now you came out of COVID. How did you
right.
make that transition in that exit plan from a business perspective?
So I so I didn't have to make too many changes, I have to admit. The kinds of clients I had, a lot of them have come back and are doing things that they did before. Some have just not decided to do any events just yet because I think people are still a little skittish about going to events. When we do meetings, conferences, or events, the attendance level is still a lot lower than it was prior to COVID. Um, and I think that's largely because people are still getting COVID. People are still, you know what, I feel so much more comfortable at home. There's that. And there's also the idea that, listen, I can participate without leaving my house. Why do you want me to leave my house? I've gotten very comfortable here. Leave me at home.
Mhm.
So um, I think our industry has changed um, for good, because while some people may opt to stay at home and not attend events, I think that some now have an opportunity to participate virtually, because we all know that that can happen now. So with my events, especially when they're meetings and conferences, I encourage my clients to do a hybrid model. By the way, a hybrid model isn't the same for everyone. In one particular instance, a client, because people need their CEs, it is really a one-way um, live stream, pretty much a little like this. So people can participate, hear the information, listen to the speaker, get their CE credits, but they don't have the ability to ask questions or engage with the rest. Some people are doing it where there is engagement, but I think the virtual aspect of events is, or the hybrid model is here to stay, because it's an option now.
Sure,
If
sure.
somebody can't make it to the conference, they can still participate.
Absolutely.
That
And
of
we
course leads to your inclusion.
there we
When we
go.
talk about, yeah. Hmm.
And we always invite our viewers to, if you have any questions as we look to wind down here, if you have any questions or comments for Corrine, you can drop that in the comments box, whether here live, or you can do it if you're watching it on in replay. So, Corrine, if someone wants to break into the industry, someone new, and I do have a family friend of ours who
Hmm.
her desire is to become as big as you, right? She started off, but she needs that break.
Hmm.
What would someone like her do? What are some of the things that she needs to do?
So I would say, first of all, if she wants to be an entrepreneur, she wants to do this for herself.
Mhm.
Um, she needs thick skin. She needs to have a lot of mental strength. I mean, real mental strength. Because as an entrepreneur, as you well know, when you're starting, if you don't have a ton of experience doing the thing that you are telling people you'll be able to do for them, sometimes people don't want to take that chance, because ultimately they're paying you to learn, or they're paying for you to learn. So I think, first of all, you have to believe that you can make this thing happen for yourself. You have to believe it's so hard that it's like a boulder no one can move, because, and that includes yourself, by the way, because you'll have some self doubt, but you have to be able to get past that. Um, Secondly, make a decision as to what it is that you want to do within this space. So I made a choice to just do corporate meetings and events. One can make a choice to do weddings, let's say. One can make a choice to just do fundraising events. One can make a choice to do retreats, any number of things, but you have to really decide on what it is that you want to do. You have to think about what you want your non negotiables to be. Right now, I have a non negotiable. I don't work weekends anymore. So for events, I mean, it has to be really important, and it's a one-off that one of my clients wants to do. But doing work on a weekend is something that I don't want to do. So you have to think about all kinds of things, and whatever it is that you decide to do, um, kind of make it your own. Um, Meetings and events is all really about hospitality, in my view. And you have to think about, how would you like someone to do a thing for you? Whatever that is, you have to do it to the absolute best of your ability. Because when you do that, people see it, people feel it. You have to have a passion around what it is that you're doing. If you have that, people will feel it and see it. So if you're really passionate about it, go for it.
Very good. Great words of advice. I appreciate that. How can someone are you only in the tri-state area, or will you branch out into other areas across the country?
So I've done events in other parts of the country, California, New Orleans. It really does not matter. It depends on where the client wants that to happen. Someone can get me from wherever I am to get to them. We have teams all over the country for people to be able to have us, service their events. And it doesn't matter outside of the country, within the country, it doesn't matter.
Awesome. And folks, if you don't know Corinne, she's very humble, but I am telling you, the names that she put on for conferences and events
Hmm.
is huge. So if you want to get a hold of her, Corinne, how can someone get a hold of you? Or if they have a need for your services, how can they reach you?
Two ways. You can go to our website, which is absoluteeventsbycorrine.com. Our Instagram page is the same. And I have a digital business card. So if you want to learn more and you want to get in touch with me specifically, go to Corrine10k.com. That is Corrine, Corrine10k.com. All my information is there. My email address, my contact number, or my social media, all of that.
Awesome. And you got both my wife and I into the 10K cards. And I'm happy to say that I have one now. So I'm excited about it. And I can't wait. I've been trying to get I forgot his name, but I've been trying to get
Sean
him,
Lashley.
Sean. Yeah, I've been trying to get Sean on the show. And I gotta get him on because the
Okay.
10K cards are unbelievable, where you have everything and
Everything. Yeah.
yeah, everything on your phone. No more cards, no more physical cards. You have the digital cards. It is fantastic. So I'm going to get him on the show. If you can make sure you push him, Corinne, from.
Okay, so maybe I'll introduce you via a Zoom or on the phone, whatever. Let's get a conversation where I can make a warm introduction to you.
Yeah, I did talk to him because he's the
You
one
did.
that when I signed up for my cards, I
Ah,
spoke with
okay,
him.
good.
But I know he's so busy too
Yes.
that I'm trying to nail him down as a guest because I think it's something that people would love because you introduced me to it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Corinne, what is next for you? As we wrap up, what's next?
So that's an interesting question. I'm glad you're asking it because during the pandemic, I felt called to help other entrepreneurs and other small business owners, grow their businesses and avoid some of the mistakes I made while I was growing my own. So I assembled a group of subject matter experts to help me in that regard. So I have this program called the Business Growth Strategy Program that is launching as we speak. So we're going to help business owners. And the first iteration is really for business owners who have employees, and they are, even though they have employees, they haven't been able to take a vacation in years because they're still tethered to their business. The idea is to help them multiply their income while working less hours and having their businesses work for them instead of them being slaves to their businesses.
Mhm. That's great.
So I'm very excited about that.
And when does that launch officially, Corrine?
Officially, March 17th will be the first session.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, again, just tell our viewers and listeners, how do they contact you? And maybe sometime down the road, April or May, you can come back and talk about the new venture that you've launched.
I'd love to. Thank you.
So give us again, as we wrap up, how can they contact you? And then we'll also put that in a chat as we end.
Okay. The easiest way is to go to corrine10k.com. And then the other way is just to go to www.absoluteeventsbycorrine.com. And Patrick, thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. And I'd love to come back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll set that up. You come back and talk more about your new venture, because that's what we're here for, right? We're here to provide valuable information to help others enhance their lives. So thank you for coming on. I greatly appreciate it. Much success in what you're currently doing and what you're about to launch.
Thank you. Same to you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Anytime.
So we've been talking to Corrine, and she is the owner and operator of Absolute Events by Corrine. So make sure that you go to her site, or Corrine. She is fantastic. I look forward to speaking with her about her new venture coming up. So we want to thank you for being here. Thank you for your continued support of the 30. Thank you for your continued support of the Jackman Group. Of course, we are a training and development company, not just training, but we also are involved in coaching, whether you are looking for a one-on-one coach or a part of our group coaching program. Make sure that you touch base with us. You can send me an email at info@jackmangroupllc.com. That is info@jackmangroupllc.com. So until next week, where we will continue our celebration of Women's History Month, we'll have another guest, fantastic guest on next week. And we will have guests coming in for the rest of the month, talking about their experiences as it relates to their businesses, their ventures, their leadership, as we continue to celebrate Women's History Month. So until then, I want to thank you. May God bless you and your family. We will see you at another time. Be blessed, everyone. And this is